What are these used for generally?
Oh, let's see.
Get the juices flowing?
They'll wake you up. All right, guys, we're back with another episode of Let's Talk Snowboarding special edition, catching up about the Dougie Fresh Bank Slalom that happened on March 1st, and we're super stoked to have Brad Compton in the booth and Rhen Lyden again on the episode. Boys, how you been? How's it going, Brad?
It's going awesome. Yeah,
Nice.
Very good.
Rhen, how are you doing?
Doing great. Just
Great.
Wrapping up another winter.
Another day at the shack.
Yep.
How's it feel to kind of be on the tail end? You guys are going to be shutting things down here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it was a good season, especially kind of compared to last season with little to no snowfall. So, yeah, it was good. We had a great kind of February and March as far as powder days and all that. So, yeah, it was a good year, and I think we're ready to call it a wrap here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, back to dock building season.
Yep.
I'm guessing.
Getting them back out on the water. I've
Yeah.
already been getting out there a little bit and looking
Nice.
at some jobs, and so yep, I'm ready to get out of the building and onto the lake.
That'll be great. Yeah, me too. I'm ready to get back out of the editing booth and
Right.
back onto the river. Doing
Oh, yeah.
some guiding for fly fishing coming up soon, so that'll be fun. Brad,
Yo.
you just got back from a super sick place that is on many of our bucket lists, lifetime bucket list for you, and you got to go there with your son. Just got back from Valdez, Alaska. How was your trip?
It was incredible. Starting out with the group of guys, well, obviously Jerry. Jerry and I have been working for this for a long time, and then the group of guys we went, friends from here, we were able to pretty much fill a helicopter up. So incredible weather, aside from the snow days,
Right.
but which are non-fly days, you know. So, but other than that, the whole experience in Valdez, the people, the bay, the glaciers, just absolutely incredible. The pulse line that we were with, the pilots, the guides, just everything. Everything was incredible. It's a bucket list for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, you said you had some really good snow conditions. You had some knee-deep snow that was just kind of like a different kind of snow for you.
Yeah, it really is. It's a coastal snow that I've never ridden on, and it's different, and it's absolutely wonderful.
That's awesome.
It's the best snow that I've ever ridden. So it's a blast. And then of course you're talking, you know, anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 vert, just of the best snow you've ever ridden on.
That's great. That's awesome. What was the guide service that you guys were with?
Pulse Line Adventures.
Pulse Line Adventures. Okay.
Yeah, and they're right out of Valdez. We shopped right out of the Valdez airport. We're on the end of it there, and so we're staying right in town, 10 minutes from the airport. So when there is downtime, you're 10 minutes away.
Nice.
In your own hotel room, you know. So it's pretty cool. Stayed at the Best Western for, I don't know, 8 or 9 nights.
Nice. Nice.
It was pretty sweet.
That's
Everybody
great.
there was great too, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, everybody in town was just super.
Yeah. So heli bumps, nonstop heli bumps.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Man, what a dream.
Yeah, it was. And you know, you think it's on your bucket list. You think it's a once in a lifetime gig until you get back.
And you gotta go again.
Yeah, you can't wait to get back.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Another trip in the works.
Yeah.
Excellent. And Rhen, you just got back from Boise. You coach wrestling during the winter as well as, run the shack here. How was, the wrestling championships down in Boise?
It was good. Yeah, we brought down like 10 kids roughly, and we had a handful of them place. So yeah, it was fun. Yeah, my son, he did well. He had a handful of really tough matches, and he won a couple of them. He lost a couple of them. So yeah, it was fun. We got another big tournament in Reno next week. We're heading down. That's kind of like nationals, so that'll be fun. We got about 5 kids going to that, so yeah, it'll be fun to get down there and see how they do in kind of the national competition level.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And where's that down in Reno? Is it at the university or?
No, it's at one of the big convention centers, like right on the main strip.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have fond memories of Reno. I used to go down there every summer for swim meets.
Oh, cool.
Outdoor swim meets, and my parents always used to like to take a trip down there they were big fans of Circus.
Right. We're staying there, so that'll be fun.
Yep, that's a good one for the kids because they're the arcade and all the fun games down there. So I spent many days, many nights after swim meets down there at Circus, trying to win stuff. It was a good time. Heck yeah. All right, guys. Good catching up, and we had Dougie Fresh on March 1st, and I kind of just want to go into how you guys kind of feel about how it went. I personally, I hadn't been back in, I raced probably 5 years ago, and I felt like the evolution of the bank slalom out there was super sick. Like the DJ was on point. The ski bum prom was like one of the coolest things I've ever seen as far as like just the vibes and it was just a beautiful day. It was just like bluebird skies. We had the Alpenglow, for the sunset, for the party. And, the vibes were high. It was just like the racers were feeling good. The Schweitzer, like snowboard team, the Snowboard Northwest team came down and killed it. Built a little kicker, down at the bottom by the trees and the after party. And just everything was going super cool. So, Brad, let's kind of talk about how did you feel like that day went?
It was over the top. I mean, it was our 10-year anniversary, and so the cool thing about that is our core group has been together doing this for 10 years. So all the little stuff we don't have to worry too much about, and we can be prepared for anything that happens, injury-wise, any hiccup. But we didn't have that. It was absolute and perfect. We had a great working week building the course, so we didn't have weather to deal with there. We thought you always think you're gonna. And the day of was absolutely perfect conditions for the track that we had built. So that all went great. Ended up with well over 100 riders. Which is always good. Rhen, we started out with 40.
Right.
I think our first year we had 40 riders,
right,
and so we're averaging right around 120 riders now per year. So we had that. And what's really cool now is the families that show up. It's families of people. It's not a lot of individuals. There still is and people that make these circuits of hitting all the bank slaloms, but there's so many families, and we're getting youngsters that are starting out at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, and all the way up to the pro guys. So and Silver Mountain obviously is a big part of this whole process. They do their thing, we do our thing, and it's a team effort to no end. It's awesome.
Yeah. How many days were you guys up there building that course?
Well, Terry and his crew, the park crew up there, they start roughing it in a couple weeks prior with the machine. And then we do all the handwork the week of.
Okay.
So we basically start Tuesday prior to that Saturday and work every day all the handwork,
Yeah.
and it takes every bit of that. We've moved the course. I mean, we were in a different part of
Yeah.
the mountain from the beginning. We moved it over off to Chair 2, 7 years ago, maybe. Six
probably
or
six or
7
7.
years ago. And it's changed. I don't know. We've changed it 3 or 4 times. But this particular setup that we've got this year for the first time, I don't know that we'll be changing it much after this one. But it takes that long. It's trial and trial and trial. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I first raced about 5-6 years ago. It was definitely a different path. You know, you still had that.
We were going through the trees, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys, it was more trees. It
bottom
was
section.
definitely more of a tree course.
Yeah.
And you still had that flat. You guys still have the flat section in the trees.
Yeah, that traverse, that'll always be there.
Yeah, that one's gnarly, dude. Into that turn, man. Yeah, you come up over those
Into
little
the
like
toilet
little humps
bowl.
and stuff. Like I saw some people jumping that stuff when I was filming. I was like, there you go, here we go. Like people like to get in there quick, so that was cool, definitely cool. So yeah, and when I came in on Friday to do a little bit of dig day filming for you guys were pretty much down at the bottom on the last turn and
Yes.
stuff. So it was pretty impressive to see like how quickly you guys kind of run through that and shape it nicely.
A lot of that has to, the experience again, 10 years of digging on this thing.
Yeah.
And then being able to work with Terry and his crew, because it's basically a ski shack team and whoever we can get ski shack team wise.
Yeah.
And then Terry's park crew. And so, but being able to work with him every year since we've moved it over there, it's I can't tell you what that's meant, and the time that he puts into it and the dedication that Terry puts in is unbelievable. It just wouldn't happen without him.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Rhen, let's talk a little bit about the relationship between Dougie Fresh and the ski shack. How long ago did that start? I know Doug was a staple here in the ski shack, many years ago. But like it's kind of grown throughout the years, especially, I've only been here, probably 7 years, but I've kind of seen the evolution of like this bank slalom and what you guys have like accomplished and how cool it is to see how people get stoked about the bank slalom and that time of year coming through the shack and, everything going on.
Right. It all started, the race started when Doug Johnson passed away. I guess 10 years ago, 11 years ago, right around there. 2016 was the first race. He, I guess, would have passed at the end of 2015, right in there. He worked here for, I think, 18 years.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think close to right in there. So a long time. He wasn't currently working here. He had moved on to a couple of other jobs, but he was still a big part of the family here. When he passed, he had young kids, 4 young kids when he passed away. So that was kind of the idea of the Dougie Fresh to raise some money for his young kids. We had always kind of been kicked around the idea of wanting to do a bank slalom. Mm-hmm. So when Doug passed, it was kind of the excuse to dive in and do it. And we had really good ties with the people up at Silver, so when we asked them, they were basically gave us free reign to go in there and do it. And we signed some waivers, and their ski patrol would kind of check it out and say, yeah, it looks safe enough, and they would let us go. So yeah, I guess the relationship between the race and the shack was because Doug worked here forever. And when he passed, we were looking to raise some money for his young kids. Those first 3 or 4 years, we gave the money like directly to Doug's kids. And then his oldest son, Jalen, kind of came to us and said, hey, me and my siblings don't need this money necessarily. Let's pass this forward to other kids that need it. So then for a handful of years, we were supporting other kids who had lost a parent. So yeah, probably 5 years we were giving it to some different families in the community who had experienced some tragedy like that. In the last 3 years, maybe 2 years,
Two.
we've kind of switched gears a little bit to supporting some of the local high school
Nice.
clubs,
Okay.
supporting some of the kids that might not be able to afford to be on the local high school snowboard team or club. So yeah, we can get some of those less fortunate kids into skiing, snowboarding. And that has evolved into members of our team kind of coaching those kids. And so yeah, like you said, the Dougie Fresh has really evolved from, hey, let's throw together a race just a month or two after our friend passed away. Kind of threw it together really quick. The first year, like Brad said, we had like 40 guys there. It was 40 of Doug's close buddies. He had that many buddies in the ski snowboard industry at least. So it was all of us kind of there digging the course for Doug, racing the course for Doug. And then it's just evolved into making more and more money and helping more and more people.
Nice.
Guys, I want to talk about a new sponsor for Let's Talk Snowboarding, which is the Ski Shack in Hayden, Idaho. Ski Shack is a local family-owned and operated ski and snowboard shop located in Hayden, Idaho. They specialize in sales, rental, and repair, and they opened in 1976. That's going on 50 years up here in North Idaho. They have been offering a skiing and snowboarding to North Idaho and beyond for that much time, which is crazy. One of the oldest ski shops in the entire state. We appreciate everyone at the ski shop for supporting Let's Talk Snowboarding. So go in there as soon as possible and get yourself dialed, whether it be getting a fresh tune-up for your board or skis or grabbing some new gear, because they got all the best in outerwear and also in boots and bindings, boards and skis. So head on over to Ski Shack, located at 9437 North Government Way in Hayden, Idaho, and have some fun picking out some cool stuff.
Nice. And, Brad, you and I kind of talked, you guys are looking at some nonprofit type status coming up here in the future.
That's our future goal.
Yeah.
Getting back with what Rhen was saying on how we donate, our goal, we have a Ski Shack team, and we've had a Ski Shack team for, it's got to be getting close to 20 years now.
Right.
I remember Chad Warren talking about that in his episode. He
Yep.
loved it.
Yep. And so it evolved from a high school team to just a ski and snowboard team.
Yeah.
And so our goal from the beginning, way back early on when we got that going, was to be able to help youth ski and snowboard clubs. And so finally, after all these years, that's what we're doing. So and being able to get to a nonprofit status of what we do will be great. It's not a ton, but anything that we would get donated just ups the ante for the clubs that we donate to.
Nice.
So we're looking forward to that, and we'll pursue it. We've done it before. We've looked at it, and it just hasn't panned out the last few times we've tried. But it takes the right person, the right people to help that move along the way we need it to go.
Yeah. And the racers this year, did you guys have the most racers that you've had in the history of the slalom?
I think 3 years ago. We had more.
Okay.
I think that was our
150.
record. Yeah,
I think right around 150.
Yeah, it was quite a few. Now, not all of them show up, but we had run 150 register or close to it.
Okay.
But this year was right around 120, and that's
Nice.
about what we get, and it's manageable.
Yeah.
That's something that because we only have so much time, right? So that's behind the scenes stuff. That our timing, we used to have that donated to us, and people would help us. But we rent that now, so we do all our own timing and registration. It's all tied together. which has been huge, a really big deal for us, especially finishing up. And it comes from Boise. We, Chris, the guy that's on our team that is head of that, he's in contact with that guy down there. We had a tie. The two young girls.
That's right.
The two young girls that were the two fastest this year. We called Boise. Chris called Boise to ask if he could break it down into 100th of a second, and the guy from Boise said, "No, no, we can't do her." So we had to leave it at a 10th, and they tied.
Nice.
So it was one of the coolest things. One of the coolest things ever.
That was cool.
And they were fast. The one little gal she was in the Northwest, the Schweitzer Club, and she's the one that got the Dirksen Derby qualification. I happened to be down at the finish line when she came through, and I swear half of the top of her board was out of that course on that chalk line, and she sucked back into it, and she was one of the gals. It was awesome.
Yeah, I can't say enough about that team right now. Honestly, they're coming, dude. Like they got their act together, and the guy that kind of has organized it all is, of course, we got Adam Hall, and Holland brothers, especially Pat, doing their thing. But it's Marty Rapino. Marty is the man. He is one of the first people I ever met up at Schweitzer when I was instructing up there, and he hails from Western Washington, Shoreline, and he used to be a Stevens Pass guy that moved here a long, long time ago. Dude, you can't walk through the village. You can't walk on that mountain. You can't go anywhere with that guy because every 2 seconds it's like, Marty. Like everybody knows that guy, and he's just the best, and he always has had this idea in his mind to bring back like a snowboard only team to that mountain because it hasn't been there for such a long time. So it's really cool to see all the Groms and those middle-aged guys like Zadok was a winner, and Zadok is a person that worked at ski school with me as a junior when I was there, and now he's just like the coolest kid. And there's a relationship with Rhen and Malie and Zadok now. We did a podcast with them here, and now you got the Nard Rub out front.
Right.
And doing that stuff.
They're doing their lotion.
It's pretty cool. Like the scene up here has just been really, really cool to see.
Oh yeah, and all those guys that you mentioned started out back in the day in the gully. They were all there for our those first 5 years. And their travels don't allow them to be there. The little hall gals, they started out there when they were young, and then, as they progress and everybody progresses, then their schedule has to line up, right? But for the most part, our local mountains in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Montana is solid.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's solid.
And especially here, here locally within the 5 resorts, got some heavy hitters coming. So.
Yep, and Mount Spokane has theirs just prior to us, and then we have ours, and then the Snow Ghost guys has theirs coming up tomorrow. So
that'll be cool.
We'll be up there.
You guys are gonna go support that.
Oh,
sounds like trying to head up there.
Yeah, we'll go check that out.
Guys, I want to talk to you about a new sponsor that we have. So, big shout out to our friends at Fine Brewed Cafe in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Whether you're gearing up for a powder day or winding down after a long ride, Fine Brewed has you covered with craft coffee, legendary mimosas, and a killer vibe. They're all about fueling adventures, connecting the community, and keeping you caffeinated for whatever the mountain throws your way. So next time you're in town in Coeur d'Alene, stop by Fine Brewed on Sherman Avenue, grab a cup, and keep chasing that stoke.
Shit, dude.
Yep, we're gonna do it. Shout out to the bomb hole.
Yeah.
This idea.
Brad, you look nervous.
I am nervous.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, boys. Here we go.
Crack.
Go red.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
Let's do that. Oh.
Woo.
are these used for generally?
Oh, let's see.
Get the juices flowing.
They'll wake you up.
Yep.
They've been known to hockey players usually like them
Oh,
before they get into their line.
I'm kind of digging it now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely wakes you up, dude.
Going for another hit.
Somebody gets knocked out, they'll try and waft it in their nose,
That is the first time ever.
get them going.
I must be thinking of salt tablets.
Yep. Yep.
No. Yeah. Blake has some over here that's just you open the jar.
Take a sniff of the
Oh.
jar.
The ammonia.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yep.
Yep. Feel like a whole different person now.
Oh yeah, it'll get it going, dude. Yeah. Nice. Well, cool. All right, so a little camera reset for us. I'd kind of like to talk about the whole vibe up there. On March 1st was just like all time. It was really great, and the DJ was on point. Had the Jam Shack there for the ski bum prom. Let's talk about the relationships that have kind of grown, and the sponsors that you guys have now with Grand Teton,
Yeah.
LibTech, of course, Ski Shack, and you had Ski Shack. You guys had demos. That's something that was really impressive to me, Rhen, was your guys just coming right up, boom, tent set up, demo line is set up. Let's start off with you. How was it getting everything set up there that day? How was your race day, and how was the ski bum prom after for you?
Setup was kind of like Brad was saying earlier, because it's our 10th time doing it. It's just been kind of refined every year. It was the first year that we had demos going on, so that was just a little bit more gear to get out there. Shout out to the Silver Mountain guys that were there in the morning, like they're, I don't know, maintenance guys or who those guys were that were moving stuff around for us, but they're cat drivers and stuff like that.
Right.
They were like there in the morning first thing with the cats and the snowmobiles. And
I heard the cat had a little trouble, and it had to be a snowmobile type day.
yeah, that's what we heard right on our way up. They're like, the cat's broken, we got to do it all with snowmobiles. But then that changed, like a half an hour later the cat was up and running, and
Cool.
It ended up showing up. So yeah, having the demo guys there was super cool. It was just another couple tents and board bags to throw in, but it really added to the whole vibe at the bottom of the mountain, or the bottom of the race course. The LibTech guys were there demoing LibTech and GNU snowboards, and guys were, borrowing a snowboard and racing on it. So it was cool to have that going on. The reps themselves, they raced in the race. I think one of them placed second in his division.
Nice.
So yeah, that was pretty awesome having those guys up there. And then the ski bum prom has just got more and more fun, and a bigger and bigger event every year. Again, the 10th year doing it. So after 10 years of doing it, you have some people that are coming up just for the party. They might not even be skiing or snowboarding that day. They're just riding up the gondola just to jam for a few hours. Jam Shack, they're a local band that has a local following of people that want to rock out with them. So you got people coming up just for the party, to hang out in the lodge and rock out for 3 hours. So yeah, it was awesome. Like you said, we had a beautiful sunset right as the band was kicking off. So yeah, we couldn't have asked for like a better day and a better 10 year. We were really hoping, that we would get nice weather for the 10 year, because we had the DJ set up, we had the demo guys coming out. We were really trying to make the party at the bottom, one to kind of remember and, make it a 10-year event.
That beer line got long.
Right. So yeah, it was awesome. We had people dancing, people buying beer. The
That
DJ,
beer line gets long every year.
Yeah, the DJ rocking his American flag onesie.
I
It's
know,
pretty
he
rad.
came up to me. I can't. And he does the cruise ships.
Yeah.
For the resort during the summer, no eco nights. So shout Shout out to No Ego Nights. Yeah, that was a whole vibe in itself. He was doing a great job.
Yep. Yeah, he had kind of a snow stage that they built up for him, pushed him up like a snow stage. So, yeah, he had a whole setup going on.
Had a live stream going too.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, they did like I think, Brad, you probably heard about that. They had a live stream going of the actual like finish line and stuff. That was super cool.
Super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
That a lot of that, like what you guys are talking about, again, Silver Mountain is the only place that we could do this.
Right.
How we do it.
Right. Yeah.
And they've changed ownership. So Jeff and Gus have been huge. The Silver Mountain management, the guys that are running the show there. You know, we mentioned Terry and his crew, but Gus and Jeff, without them, this doesn't happen either. And right through with their ski patrol. So it's a total mountain, Silver Mountain employee event. You know, it really is. And then Caleb came onto our team a few years back, who was Grand Teton.
Yeah.
And so that relationship just came together perfect.
Yeah.
You know, so it's basically Silver Mountain, Teton, and our ski shack team.
Yeah. It's cool. It's like, this area is growing. Definitely can see that. But I can't tell you, like, met Caleb, his brother Sage, who I guide with during the summers,
right?
And also know him from Schweitzer. Then there were two. There's a guy on the snowmobile who's the gondola head engineer, Mike,
right?
Who was bringing up. He's like, hey, he came up to me, guide with him during the summer, and then another homie that was slinging hot dogs and beer. And I think it's is it Ed? I can't remember. I think it is Ed. But yeah, he was like, oh shit, you're up here too. So it's like kind of like that, Coeur d'Alene, Silver Valley connection. Then you can have that connection all the way up to Sandpoint and Bonner's Ferry, and everyone within that snowboard community just kind of knows each other, and it's always cool. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. That's why these events are so cool.
And also our team, getting back to our ski shack team, and this has been going on for 10 years too. Josh Smith has made all the medals that are made out of wood.
Yeah.
He's done that for 10 years, so it's something that you take for granted because it's there. Spencer Rao, our swag, this right here.
That's right.
Him and Pyramid Printing, Eric, those
Jeremy Deming
and then Jeremy, Eric, and Spencer, artwork, printing, the tees, the hats, everything for 10 years. These guys have been doing that. Rhen, the sponsors and the prizes, there's no event in our local area that gives out what we give out.
No, it's like I
think
saw
we gave away
so
10
many snowboards. Yeah.
10 snowboards, maybe 12 was the most that we had a couple years ago to give away. So yeah, it's like almost every category. If you win a snowboard.
Yeah.
We have all sorts of other goggles and helmets and gloves, and just the swag pile is pretty huge. And that just goes for reaching out to the local Northwest reps of all the brands that we carry here at Ski Shack. All those guys are super cool guys. They live here in the Northwest. They are from Seattle or Portland or Spokane or whatever. So they're all down to support a cool event.
Yeah, it's unreal, and the Ski Shack team is that.
Yeah.
Everything about that. Silver Mountain, their part is the facility, the employees that are working on the course itself, plus the food and beverage end of things. The Ski Shack team, again, timing, registration, and then Grand Teton, the efforts that they do to promote. And Caleb is basically the liaison between our team and Silver Mountain, which makes it wonderful because it's just one guy, and so him and Gus work together a lot. Leading up to things.
Yeah, Caleb was super cool. He was a very, very welcoming guy.
Oh, he's unreal.
As soon as I met him, so
yeah,
that was super cool. And that's how I've always kind of felt about like when I walked in, here, this was one of the first places I ever visited when I moved here, was Ski Shack, and met Rhen and met Julie, and I was just like, oh, this feels like home. Like, I come from a small town,
Right.
and my home, in Southern Oregon, we had Rogue Ski Shop, and I was like, this is just like back in the day, you guys did consignment stuff. You could put stuff on layaway. And it's just like home. And I was like, oh, this is such a cool family vibe. And they've always been so welcoming to me. Every time I come in, they're like, hey, Dylan, what's going on? And so to have this relationship now with the Ski Shack and now with Dougie Fresh and being able to like help you guys out and film stuff, and just that was an all-time day, dude. It was just like, I had so much fun.
And to have it done professionally, usually it's one of us or one of our buddies, trying to do whatever we can. So that'll be a big step for us, moving forward. This right now, I mean, it's incredible. We've come a long ways, haven't we?
Yeah.
I'd like to say something too. The safety aspect of things that we take extremely serious up there. Jerry works hard. We still have course marshals, and obviously you were on the course. Our traverse, and you can't see everything from top to bottom. So we've got course marshals that have actually been up on course at least 8 years. 8 times.
Yeah.
So we've got those volunteers that are coming up and doing that sort of thing as well. And I think what helps run things so smooth is prior to getting up there, everybody knows exactly where they're going to go and what they're going to do.
Right.
And if there's a glitch in anything, then they get a hold of me, and I'll work it out where they can keep going, and I'll take care of whatever needs to take care of. But that's just been practice, and our Ski Shack team is pretty incredible from top to bottom.
Yeah. It is. It really is. Just like so awesome. It was just a great experience. Let's kind of transition into, I want to talk more about Doug, the man, the myth, the legend. Basically this whole thing is about Doug. So I'll start with you, Brad. Just kind of give me some fond memories of that guy. I never had the chance to get to meet him, which I wish I could have. But it's just like, you see he's on all the merch, he's on everything. But what was he like, back in the day?
Was probably one of the nicest, kindest human beings I've ever met in my life. That's to start out. And not to mention his knowledge of the industry and all the gear that's always been in here. But I started snowboarding later with my kids. I skied, they skied, then we got transitioned into snowboarding, right? And he's the one that guided me through the whole transition. And got my gear, got my board, what I needed, board-wise, binding-wise, gear-wise. And it was in this room right here where we're sitting where that all went down. So we got to know each other. I knew him, for many years. I'd been coming in here since I moved here in '85. And so I got to know him. And from that point on, we're throwing all this gear that doesn't get sold. We're throwing it in a moving van and hauling it to ski swaps, Doug and I. And it was just him and I.
Nice.
And it was absolute chaos and a blast and organized chaos.
Yeah.
And we'd go to demo days, and that's when, I knew Rhen when he was a young guy, but that's when him and I really met was at a demo days, really, many years ago. And that was, Doug and I were together on that. And so it was this shop, Grandma Carolyn, Julie, Doug, and Lyle. That was the four, basically the three, but Grandma was still involved pretty heavy back then. So I saw her more. But that's when it all came down for me, and I became literally a part of the Ski Shack family. And once you are part of the Ski Shack family, then you're a lifer.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, you're in. Once you're in, you're in.
You're in.
How about you, Rhen?
Yeah, Doug.
Some fond memories.
Doug was a super awesome guy. I mean, like Brad said, he was just the nicest guy. He was kind of like that take his shirt off of his back for you kind of guy. So basically, as long as I can really remember, he was working back here. You know, my grandmother's the owner, so I was running around in here when I was like a little kid, 10, 12 years old, like into early teenage years. He was the guy back here, him and Lyle. Lyle was kind of the older guy, and Doug was in his mid to late 20s, probably, about back then. He's about 10 years older than I am. So yeah, he was kind of always the guy that was here. He was the one hooking us up with the coolest board, always checking in with us on, you know, the tricks that we're learning, snowboarding and that kind of thing. I mean, when we were teenagers, like if we were out partying at Hayden Creek and we get our trucks stuck in the mud at like 3 a.m, we'd call Doug, and you know, he'd be asleep with his family and his wife, and he'd like sneak out of his house and come pull us out with his truck, you know. So I mean, he was that kind of guy that was just always there to help you out, always a super fun time. As I got older, he was the one that trained me up on how to run this shop and do all the tune work and all the ski mounting and all that kind of stuff. He kind of showed me the way and paved the way with everything that I do here. He was a great time to go, you know, on trips with, ski trips and things like that. I got to go to Denver with him to the big SIA shows, and yeah, he was a super fun guy to be around. Everybody knew him. He was kind of just a big personality, you know, that everybody knew. Yeah. Everybody recognized Doug. He's 6'4", redhead guy. Just, he could ski and snowboard, so it didn't really matter what sport. He could get right into it. He was big into mountain bikes and road bikes. So yeah, he was in the bike community just as much as he was in the ski community.
That's
he
awesome.
Worked at a bunch of the different bike shops in town in the summertime, and then he'd be here in the wintertime. So yeah, it was a big deal. It was a bummer when Doug passed, for sure. We lost like one of the staple mountain dudes around here.
Yeah. I don't know this, but if you mind sharing, like, how old was he when he passed?
I believe he was 39.
Damn.
I could be off. He might have been 41.
Yeah, and it was just a freak.
He was
Just a freak.
right around 40 years old.
Yeah, he was hovering. He was right at 40.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just passed away, man.
So yeah.
It was a sleep apnea thing.
Okay. Jeez.
That's right. It was
Scary.
Well, yeah, and it was a sleep apnea thing, wasn't it?
Yep. Yep, and it was super tragic, you know, to lose Doug, but from there, Jalen, his oldest son, it was pretty cool that he wanted to work here, you know, and I knew him because Doug would bring him in here all the time, you know, so I knew all Doug's kids as they were growing up. I, you know, watched Jalen kind of grow up from a 10-year-old up to a 17-year-old, and it was maybe a year after he passed that Jalen called me and he wanted to work here, and I was like, man, I don't know. You know, I wasn't going to turn him down, but I was also like, man, your dad's handwriting is still on all the stuff in here. You know, you're going to be constantly reminded of your dad, but that's, you know, probably what he wanted, and that's probably what helps, you know, heal him. And so it was cool. It ended up being just completely awesome to have Jalen work here for probably 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
He did 3 or 4 winters in here.
Yeah.
And ends up just like growing up and looking exactly like Doug, and all these little mannerisms you would see in Jalen that you'd remember from Doug, and it was just, you'd catch him out of the corner of your eye, and you'd be like, it was. And Jalen has grown into be like a super awesome young man, and yeah, it reminds me a ton of Doug. You know, Doug would be extremely proud of the dude that Jalen is now.
Dude, it was crazy. I pulled into the parking lot on, Saturday morning, and Jalen
Yeah, you
was
see him
like
walking
right.
around.
Yeah, he was right there with his crew from Boise.
Yep.
Had a full 24 rack Coors Light ready to go.
Yep.
Just talking. I was like, this crew's cool. I like who these guys are. I had no idea who he was, but shout out to Chris Robbins, our drone photographer
Oh, yeah.
for Dougie Fresh, did all the drone work, and is also a big bike guy too. He's the manager of the Trek store.
Okay.
Just right on 4th Street. So, he came out. He's like, "Are you here? I'm at the booth. I'm at the sign up desk." And I was like, "Yeah, I just pulled in." And so he came walking over, and then he just walks over to Jalen because he knows him, and he was like just chatting with him. He's like, "You know who that is?" And I was like, "No." And I was like, "That's Doug's son, Jalen." I was like, "How do you know him?" He was like, "He's a bike guy, just like Doug was, and
Exactly.
all this stuff."
Yeah.
So like Chris was really, really stoked to be able to be a part of it too, because his drone work is kind of more in the commercial realm. He does a lot of like inspection work for warehouses and stuff like that. So for him to come up and actually film this event, he's like, "I've always heard about this event, know that it's awesome, never been able to make it, but he was like on cloud 9 being up there." So he was super stoked.
All 4 of the kids have been up there
Yeah,
regularly.
Doug's kids.
When we very first started, they were too small, and it was in a tough location. But and as long as I can remember now, all 4 kids, their mom and her husband, have been up, just supporting.
I think one year, one of Jalen's sisters had a broken foot, and he like piggybacked her out to the race. If I remember right.
Yeah, they've been super dedicated and just.
Yeah, they come out every year.
Oh man, and they are a good bunch of kids.
Yeah.
Good family. Yep.
Yeah, because the location used to be pretty far away, right?
Yeah, it was
in
over
the first few years.
Yeah, you rode up chair 2, rode around over. The course was in a gully between chair 3 and chair 4.
Yeah.
So then you were back down to chair 3 to get out of there.
Right, on that half pipe
Yep.
run.
Yeah.
It's called half pipe.
That's right. It is. Yes.
Yep, it was a bitch to build that course in that half pipe.
100% hand back then.
Yep.
For those days, and that became logistics for ski patrol, and we didn't get the support back then from the park crew because it was so far away.
Yeah.
From the
And
park.
from
sure.
the park. So we basically, the Ski Shack team, we brought all our own tools, and it was all
guys. We had
12, at least 12 guys, pretty much all week.
yeah.
Back then, and basically Ski Patrol up there finally said, let's look at this location over off of chair 2 right by the park, and what a great decision.
Terry also was like, we'll be able to give you a lot more support.
Oh
with
yeah,
a lot
100%.
more park,
Yeah.
Time.
It's
and
right
cat
there.
Time.
Yep.
So it just ended up making sense to move it over next to the park.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. Very cool, man. All right, GoPro cut out again. Let me get that going. Sweet. All right. Well, we're getting close, guys.
But yeah, you can definitely not say enough good things about Doug. He was a pretty awesome guy. That's for sure.
Yeah, I haven't thought about those times for a long time, but to come in here when Doug and Lyle were here, I would sit in here.
Yeah.
I could never tell my work how many hours I sat in here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just taking your 3-hour coffee break at the ski shack. And you should have been
Morning,
fixing someone's
noon, and
power
afternoon.
lines.
Sometimes I do the same thing. I just want to come in here and just chat.
Right.
Who's in here.
Right. Well, same. Back in those days when I was trying to learn so much,
Yeah.
and did.
Yeah, that's the thing about Doug. He was like a wealth of knowledge when it came to all of the gear. I mean, and I've met a lot of guys through my days of selling skis and snowboards and all the reps and all the people, and some guys know their stuff, but Doug, like, he had that mind that remembered all of the numbers.
Right.
He knew the side cut of every ski. He knew the tip. the mid waist and the tail dimensions of every ski and every snowboard. And
Yeah.
I mean, he just knew it off the top of his head. Like he'd be, waxing a ski over there, and somebody would ask about a ski, and he would just throw out like a random, turn radius, on
Right,
every
right.
ski, and yeah, he knew
Pretty amazing.
it all. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I
About
know
the
he was
skis.
that way in the snowboard end of it for me, because it was like, how long you been snowboarding now? And he goes, well, you actually need this snowboard now.
Right.
You need these bindings now.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
need these goggles. It didn't matter what it was. And everything that he put on me was spot on.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I've always said, like, I mean, and everyone that's a snowboarder or, a skier, that's, it's part of their life. It's a lifestyle. You go to your shops.
Right.
You go to the shop because the guys that work in the shop know the most. And you support the shop. You don't, I've always been like, guys, people that go into the shop and then they turn around and they go buy it on like a big box site on the internet. They can get it cheaper. Like, no, you might pay a little bit more at the shop, but
Right.
that's like your tip for the knowledge that you get. You know what I mean? That's you supporting a local shop that is a staple in the community and stuff. So,
Yeah.
Josh, do you ever notice that when you buy tickets for a show, you get hit with all these hidden fees?
Yeah, for sure. I'm tired of being gouged with hidden fees.
Dude, I just discovered this, but now whenever I purchase tickets, I try to search for venues and artists that use Ticket Goat.
What's Ticket Goat?
Ticket Goat is the greatest ticketing software of all time. With Ticket Goat, promoters can expect hassle-free setup, zero obligations, and a revolutionary $1 ticketing fee for event attendees.
So we can say so long to hidden fees?
Dude, 100% zero hidden fees. With Ticket Goat, steep ticketing fees are a thing of the past. Ticket Goat's revolutionary ticketing software allows owners to create custom ticketing options, access to event reporting, and a digital QR codes for mobile ticket scanning, all with no commitments and transparent pricing.
Sick. That means event owners can keep their profits and ticket buyers can purchase tickets without being gouged.
Definitely. If you are in charge of ticket sales and want a fast and easy way to sell tickets, go to www.ticketgoat.com and join the herd today.
Sick.
that's awesome that, Doug gave you all that knowledge
Oh,
when
yeah.
you were getting
Yeah.
into it, man.
Well, and the thing is, and then the September sale, the Ski Shack Labor Day
Yeah,
sale,
Labor Day.
man.
Yep.
I mean, that's when we stocked up.
Yep. Can't tell you how much stuff I've gotten. I got my wife's boots here. I got my daughter's full kit here. That's why, you come here and you support, man. Like, everyone, like, my wife will always give me shit. She's like, oh, it's a little more expensive. I'm like, yeah, but you support your shops, dude. Like,
Right.
that's just a part of it. That's what you have to do. And, with Rhen being so gracious and, letting me record here and, have the podcast here, and, kind of let me into the scene, like the knowledge that I've gained, just from this fall and the early season with all those, reps coming in.
Yeah.
And seeing that side of the industry,
Oh, yeah.
business side,
Yeah.
and the technology and like all the new cool stuff that's coming out, and meeting those guys, like that's a whole new world for me because I come from the instructor, resort realm,
Right.
so it's a little different. So it's super cool, super cool. Let's talk about what's kind of next for the Dougie Fresh. You guys had an all-time day, all-time event this year, in my opinion. It's one of the coolest events I've ever been at, and I just want to kind of hear from Brad, you first, and then Rhen. What do you guys think the future holds for the event?
Oh, I think we're full blast moving forward.
Sweet.
First of all, with our team wise, everything will work the same. Members stay the same. We didn't talk a lot about that, but early on, registration and the crew that we have, Liz and Mark and Matt, Alicia, Mike, all these guys, all that team doing behind the scenes stuff as well. Plus, still racing a little bit too, But so we'll stay together as a unit and do our part. We'll continue to do it forever. The thing that has evolved most out of the last 10 years, it's the actual course itself, the actual slalom course itself. Mm-hmm. And this year, again, is my favorite, whether it's the start line, whether it's the second corner, mm-hmm. whether it's a machine corner or a hand-built corner, whether it's that traverse, where we change it down, get it out of the trees down below, move it out where it's more spectator-friendly. But we also get to utilize machine corners there, at least moving the snow. We still have to hand work them. But the course is the biggest thing that changes and evolves. And I think we are so close, if not there, on what that's going to be. The DJ and the demos were for our 10-year anniversary. So if we continue to do that, which I thought was a great part, man, if we could keep that. So it was new, but if we could continue doing something like that, I mean, it did nothing. It enhanced everything, down at the finish line. So night skiing is always a cool thing that Silver Mountain doesn't have very often, so they stay open, a little bit later and keep the lifts running, turn the lights on.
Yeah.
So that's something to look forward to as well. But anyway, yeah, that the course has been the biggest evolution of the Dougie Fresh.
Yeah, I would say, in my mind, the course is like 80%, 85, 90% there. There's a couple things I'd like to see happen maybe. But small things. I think as far as like the location is key, moving it out, the bottom part of it out of the trees and into the spectator's view is awesome. There's a couple turns towards the bottom. We might try to move around a little bit maybe in the future, but yeah, as like Brad said, I think we're really close to having the course that we want. And then as far as like making it better, the demos were awesome. Having a bigger, better party at the bottom is cool. We did a method contest one year. That was cool. So maybe some sort of incorporate. They have that hip right there that's in the train park. So it'd kind of be cool one of these years to have an official hip contest going on at the same time as the Dougie Fresh. So you could get kids that are doing both. They're racing and they're, it's a $10 entry or wage. It's a cheap, contest to do, or maybe it's free or whatever, but have some judges there that are judging and incorporate maybe that, because we've done a method contest, but it was after the race in the park during the night skiing. We had kind of and it was like a crowd judged kind of thing, but it would be kind of cool to incorporate something right there on that hip that was a little more official than just people kind of hiking it, having some judges there, maybe.
Like a Dougie Fresh methodology own version. That'd be sick.
Yep, something like that. I mean, little things like that we can throw in that just make it different. Maybe get different snowboarders involved, like kids that they're not going to race, but if there's a hip contest, they're going to want to do that. Just like naturally, kids started building that little jump down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Started jumping off it. So anything like that would be cool. I saw a really cool event down in Bend, Oregon, where one of the guys, Josh Smith, he sent it to me, but it's it's a race where they're doing just a straight line. They're dropping in off scaffolding. There's 3 or 4 kind of big rollers to the finish line.
Yeah.
And you go head to head against another racer. So it's not a bank slalom, but it's a head to head race, and you would set it up like in a bracket. So I think maybe in one of these years in the future, we try to incorporate something like that as well.
I know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah.
That's the one that's like in the city, right?
Right. In
Yeah.
the city, in
So
town.
shout out, I know the guy that builds that, Pete Alport.
Okay, cool.
So he's, and he used to be with the Poor Boys.
Okay.
Doing that whole crew, and so
Nice.
he always is looking for an excuse to come up here.
Yeah, maybe he wants to come up here and help us throw something like that together,
That would be super sick.
because it looks easy enough. I mean, I've only seen a few of the pictures and videos of it, but we got a big parking lot back here. We could throw it.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Right.
Just as another event.
Our team has volunteered for Jam for Cans for
Yep.
quite some time. Rhen's and a handful of our guys have been judging that for eons, but
Yeah.
our team has really been helping that out the last few years. So
Yep.
that's another. We do a lot of volunteer stuff.
Yeah.
Guys, Let's Talk Snowboarding is presented by Mountain Vibes. And Mountain Vibes was started in February 2016 by our CEO and founder, Justin Desmond. With the input of close friends, Mountain Vibes officially went live November 1st of 2017, and Justin runs it with the help of Mountain Vibes co-owner Emily Sorger and our core team. When Justin created Mountain Vibes, his objective was not only to create a snowboarding company, but also a family where passion and the love of snowboarding outweighed years of experience and where judgment is not tolerated. We don't like the cool guys at Mountain Vibes. Everyone should be included in Mountain Vibes. Passion of snowboarding is what brings us all together and makes us a family. Along with creating a snowboarding family, Quality Snowboarding Apparel, we are a nonprofit with an outreach program called Good Vibes and High Fives, where we take less fortunate kids out to snowboard. And I want you to check out our website, mountainvibes.com with a Z, and see what we're all about. We have everything from the charity to the apparel, and we're stoked that Mountain Vibes has presented Let's Talk Snowboarding over these last, 2 years. So thank you to Mountain Vibes.
That's what it's all about. Is
Did you-
volunteering your time.
Did you get to meet Evan? He was announcing in the morning up there on
I'm
that day.
sure I crossed paths with
Okay.
him. Yeah.
Anyway, he kind of, we were getting back to year one,
Yep.
and he was working here.
He was a
And
big part of the first handful of years. It was kind of his brainchild, really.
It really was, and he had an in. He grew up at Silver Mountain, so he had an in with the guys, the ownership and the management at that time, and so he's still involved. We have him announced.
Nice.
He's our announcer still. So and his brother Robert, same thing. They're usually always there, but I got to make sure. And I don't know if we'd actually be here doing this if it wasn't for Evan.
That's great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Evan was a big part of it, really. So was Willie Bartlett,
Yeah.
And Willie passed away this year at Silver Mountain. Unfortunately, that was a huge hit to the local community. It was his funeral was on the same day of the Dougie Fresh this
That's
year.
right. Yeah. Chris was saying he was going down there.
Yep. So
For
a
the
bunch of the crew, they kind of did their thing, made their laps, and then went down and went to Willie's service. But he was the marketing manager guy up at Silver Mountain for a long time. So when Doug passed and we had the idea to do it, he was good friends with Evan. So Evan just hit up his buddy, Willie, hey, can we do this up there? And Willie's like, yes, let's do it. So he was a huge part of it being allowed to happen up there.
Yeah.
And he was kind of the guy who said yes to the whole thing being the guy from Silver Mountain anyway, that said, yeah, you can do it. And yeah, he was skiing the gondola line this year. It was super tragic.
Man. Yeah, it's tough, man. And, you know, to speak on that, we've had some other big timers been passing away, like the Dingo, Alex Pashley, who's a Bend legend.
Is that the Cooney Pass avalanche?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they were up there filming and stuff, and it's just, you know, you can't take for granted, like, the stuff that we do is super dangerous, and even if it's not out there, you know, it's just always, you know, I've had many different homies pass away, you know, and it's just always tough, you know, people passing away so young, so.
It's a small community, kind of like you were saying earlier, so, like, when something like that happens, it affects people all over the Northwest. I mean, tons of people knew Doug. Tons of people knew Willie from all over. I mean, he was the rep for Specialized Bike. So, again, another guy who was in the biking and skiing, snowboarding world. And so, yeah, it reaches pretty far because it's a small community.
Yeah, especially, within our snowboard community, man. It's tough. It can be tough, man. Yeah. Well, you know, on that note, you know, as far as what we've talked about and stuff, I just want to say thank you guys for donating your time and bringing me into this family, this Dougie Fresh family. If you guys will have me, I'll be back every year.
Of course.
Putting it out, you know, hopefully filming and doing what you guys need me to do and being a part of the Ski Shack and Dougie Fresh family. And you know, Rhen, I'll start with you. If there's people you know, we've shouted out quite a few people. But if there's anybody else that you'd like to shout out and give props to for this event, and then after that, Brad, you as well. And then we'll close it out.
Man, yeah, definitely Evan and Willie. They were huge in those first few years, getting everything going. Everybody on the Ski Shack team helps a ton. Jeremy Deming, he's the guy who's done all the art. Speaking of like evolution of the race, I think it's kind of cool to see the evolution of the artwork. You can see on the banner in the back. So he's done a different Doug every year for the race. So the very first one, he's just like, you know, white shirt, red pants, and then his jacket color changes a little bit, and then he changes a different color, but then he goes Rasta, and then he starts getting real funky, and then he goes like 90s style, and then he goes military, then he goes to the moon. So like just the evolution of the artwork kind of shows.
And then this year is Def Leppard themed.
Yeah, man, Def Leppard.
The big change was when Julie finally got a hold of Jeremy and says, "Make his hair red."
Yeah, make his hair red.
So it's some year, 3-4 years ago, I guess 4 years ago, it finally turned red.
I like that.
And then you can see, I think it was another Julie edition where right after the Rasta gear, he goes from like a frowny face to a smiley face.
Nice.
Julie's like, why has he got a frowny face? Like, Doug was the happiest guy.
Yeah.
So we need to get a better smile on him. So now he has a better smile.
That's awesome.
Yep. But yeah, Jeremy Deming with the art, and Eric down at Pyramid Printing. He donates all this swag, all these hats, all this stuff is just donated by Eric, which was really cool. I think last year he won a split board, I believe, in the raffle.
Very cool.
So he was like, finally, I've donated like 10 grand worth of swag to this thing, so finally I won something cool.
There you go. I like it.
But I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, Brad. You probably got a list of people.
There's a ton. There's a ton of people. You know, starting with the Silver Mountain management, Gus, Jeff, Terry's
huge.
Terry and his crew. It just can't be done without them. The way we have it set up. Caleb and Grand Teton and his connections there. We basically split things up between Silver Mountain, Grand Teton, and our Ski Shack team financially and everything. You know, we try to, you know, to even it up the best we can that way. The volunteers that we've got on our team, you know, myself, Rhen, Chris, I think you and I and Chris have been here from day one.
Yeah.
and the only 3 left, I think, from day one.
Maybe Josh Smith.
Well, they were here, but their kids were babies.
Oh, yeah.
So they had to. That's when Josh and Chad. We had so many Yatesy and all them guys, But the 3 of us, Josh, his wife Liz, Mike, Matt, Spencer, Caleb, Jerry, Alicia. We're still missing one. We need one more girl to get on our team, but you can't say enough about all these guys that have an integral part. Every single one of them have something to do with this event. And for me, I'm just the guy that makes sure that everybody has what they need, or I, work out whatever I can, keep things going, keep the ball rolling, make sure everybody's stepping to the beat of the drum, right?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And
Brad's the president of the Ski Shack Ski and Snowboard Club. So that's his official title.
Yep, and so and he's the captain. He's the
team
team captain.
Yeah. Nice.
But if there's ever a problem, then nobody has to spend any time dealing with it. They can keep doing their thing, and I can come in and just they haven't been perfect all through the years. So we've learned a lot that way too. That is a prime example of this 10-year anniversary as well. All the things that we've learned that have gone wrong through the course of 9 prior seasons, we know how to handle it. We have protocol. We've learned. So it's been pretty sweet.
That's awesome. Well, great. Well, thank you to you both for your time. Thanks for sitting down and chatting with me about this awesome event that has been around for a staple of time in our community up here. So really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it, man. Well, with that, that's been, Let's Talk Snowboarding, Dougie Fresh Special Edition, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.